It is Tidal Wave. Yes, I have Tidal Wave from the Armada series. But there's more, because I have Shockwave, who is the Japanese version of Tidal Wave from the Japanese Armada series. But there's more, because I have Tidal Wave. He is from the Energon series. Yes, I am Captain Kyle, and with the excitement about the new pre-order for the Titan Tidal Wave, who's going to be much bigger than these guys, well, I figured we would revisit where it came from. So I'm going to go through these three guys, and you can see if this is something you also want, in addition to that Titan, in your collection. Be right back. So this is actually a review I wanted to do a while back, but I couldn't find their missiles, and I hate to review things where I don't have all the pieces. But this one is the one that was put out by Hasbro when Armada, the TV series, was on. And what they didn't like about the colors of the one on screen was it was too purple, and they decided to change the colors up a bit because they didn't want too much purple on the shelves. Really? However, in Japan, they're like, well, fuck that. And they released what they call Shockwave, which is much more accurate to what he looked like in the Armada cartoon, and just overall looks a bit cooler. And it's going to look a lot more like this in Titan form. And then when Energon came out, they still released yet another version of Tidal Wave. Now, in Japan, they released one that's slightly different in coloration, a little bit on the head, but I didn't get that one. But I'm definitely glad I got this one. So, just to show you a little bit now, Tidal Wave, if you're not all that familiar, was massive. I have a feeling that the Titan's gonna look a lot more like the size that he was on the show. But he was still a pretty big transformer when they released him. He comes with a little minicon, who's named Ramjet, a very small minicon. He's actually smaller than most, and really, he is not the most impressive of minicons, I have to say. Hopefully that's focusing okay. But Tidal Wave himself was pretty cool. Now, as you can see, I had to close his leg there. He's a big guy. He's got the guns on his chest, nipple guns, but he's overall a really big dude. And even though it wasn't show accurate, the Hasbro one is still a pretty cool toy. Now, to show you the Shockwave version from Japan from all angles, I apologize if there's a little bit of dust on him. I don't have glass cases for all my stuff, but he's just overall a cooler looking toy with the purple. And his minicon is almost identical. I don't think I folded the wings back on that one, but pretty much the same. But I'm gonna reconnect him to this one so I don't mix them up, because, you know, very easy to do that. A very cool version of the toy, again named Shockwave in Japan. And they gave him a little bit of a power-up, I guess, kind of the Energon effect with the glowing head and hands and shoulders. So the Energon one, I guess, is supposed to be more powerful. Now, eventually, he was remade into Mirage, which, really? Why use that name? I have no idea why they would use an Autobot name for this guy. And he was like a boat. Not really something that I would associate with Tidal Wave. I prefer this version of the toy, and Mirage is not it. So let's go through some posability. Obviously, they all are the same mold, so they're gonna all do the same thing. Now, the missiles are a pain in the ass. If you tap it wrong, the missiles fly out. So I'm gonna remove the missiles, which is probably why I put them in the first place in a case of accessories. So they would not go flying all over the place and I'd lose them. But then I couldn't find them for a while because they were hidden in a bunch of other missiles, and I wasn't sure exactly what they looked like, but I found pictures. So this Tidal Wave, just starting at the feet, there's no swivels. There was no swivels at that time. Now, the joints are not as tight as they once were. You could kind of put him in a spread out position, but he's not the most stable in there. But he can do a full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, you could even fold the heels to make him flatter. So there you go. I think Jean-Claude would have problems dealing with Tidal Wave, you know, if he was in scale. So with his legs, he can kick forward. Not too bad. The leg runs into this gun here, so it can't go much higher, but just about 90 degrees, maybe 89, something like that. Backwards, he can kick full out, and of course he can do side kicks. Now, twisting at the waist, you can actually do it, though it's a little low. It's basically right where his legs attach, so you can twist him that way. So if you wanted to put him in a more dynamic pose, you could do that. Oh, knees. He doesn't have any. He can't bend at the knee. You kind of do this. I don't think that's very good. That doesn't look healthy. But he could twist at the waist. He's got some pretty good movement there. The arms can go all the way around. The head itself cannot turn. No turning of the head. But he can bend at the elbow. He can pivot this around all the way. He's got these thumbs that can move back and forth, which is part of the transformation. And the fingers here can bend inwards, so he can grasp things. Though he seems pretty dense on the show. I don't know how much he would grasp. Yeah, I'll leave the jokes to Megatron. I don't know how much he would grasp. Anyways, for those people thinking I'm using AI for Megatron's voice. So overall, he's not a bad figure. Not super posable, but a lot better than a lot of the G1s. Now, this guy can become 3 different vehicles. So I'm gonna switch over to Shockwave. Yes, Shockwave. And I'm gonna take his missiles and put them aside. And the thing is, if you just kind of nudge the arm, and of course when you try to do it, it doesn't happen. But yeah, if you push the shoulders in too much, the missiles go flying. Now this guy, they were supposedly fixing that problem. Yeah, didn't fix the problem. But he's got missiles between his legs. That didn't sound right. Now he becomes 3 different vehicles known as the Dark Fleet. And to achieve that, I'm gonna actually show you. And I don't know how much different the Titan's gonna be. It looks like the Titan also has a base mode, which is really cool. But you take these particular pieces, and we can even leave Ramjet on there, because this is the aircraft carrier part. And you just kind of pop them together, put the thumbs together, and it is an aircraft carrier. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see the aircraft carrierness. Now, speaking of aircraft carriers, yes, there was another Tidal Wave who is basically a repaint of broadsides, and he becomes a plane and an aircraft carrier, but he doesn't really fit in with these guys, so I want to acknowledge him, but he's not going to be part of this. Just a little glimpse. Maybe we'll do a video on Transformers whose later versions were not as good. I can think of a few of those. That might be interesting. Okay, so the rest of him, has been a while since I've transformed this. Aha! So this becomes some kind of mobile thing, and you can actually open this up. I don't know why. I think these might be Minicon catchers of some kind, and you might need to use the Minicon to release them. Let's try that out. Nope, they do look like they... I see what happens. No real Minicon interaction, but it's got seats in here, so Minicons can sit and, have tea. Or you could keep it closed, and he's just part of the Dark Fleet, flying around, potentially shooting people. I guess these are guns on the wings, and he shoots people. And this part, which I'm going to demonstrate the guns, which you can also do in his robot mode. Basically, this becomes like a 2-cockpitted something or other. But you can put the Minicon on here and pull back and make the guns move. So it's kind of cool. So he is the Dark Fleet. Ta-da! And well, I'm sorry, I had to turn this around because he's some kind of he's like a battleship. But again, before I get yelled at for, you mistransformed him. Sometimes I do mistransform things because I'm trying to get the video done, and it might have been a while since I've transformed these guys. But hey, I've got a Dark Fleet ×3. Now you can also put the missiles in here in the front, and maybe now that he's not in his robot mode, they'll stay in a little better. That's kind of intimidating, these missiles. Now the transformation isn't too complex, and I'm imagining that these are jets on the back, but luckily there are differences in color, so I won't mix up the pieces. So to give close-up views, This is the Hasbro release, Tidal Wave, of the aircraft carrier with ramjet right on top there. Now you can see he's got a nice Decepticon symbol right here, right on the top. He's got another Minicon port. I am not sure. It looks like it should do something. And it does, it pushes down this thing here. I think that is because, and this is something I'm not going to demonstrate in this video, I'm going to attach the pieces to Armada Megatron, and I'm curious to see how Armada Megatron from the Legacy line is going to interact with Tidal Wave. But yes, he can kind of latch on to Megatron. So that is the Hasbro version, and he's a pretty cool kind of mini aircraft carrier with an aircraft. The Japanese Shockwave version is right here. And again, very similar in deco, only purple instead of orange. So again, they were trying to like not have too much purple on the Transformer shelves, which I think is kind of dumb. They could have just went with the purple. And here is the Energon aircraft carrier, who retains his ability to merge with Armada Megatron, even though by then he was Energon Megatron, so totally different mold. Now he's got a lot more like, looks like energy crackling across here, and he's got the block here that's, I guess, you know, Energon infused. Still has the same Decepticon symbol. It's the same mold, just repainted. And they did, like I said, they made a slight change in an attempt to not have his missile shoot out when he's in robot mode, but that didn't work too well. Now I don't know what you would call this, because it looks like a flying assault vehicle, like a troop lander. He's got apparently guns on the wings or missiles or something like that. And jets on the back here. And ramps, though these can open up as if he's landing troops. So, a neat little vehicle. I guess it flies. Not a very big wingspan, but it flies. That's the Hasbro one. This here is the Japanese Shockwave version. By the way, they have Decepticon symbols on the front here, so you can definitely tell that he is a Decepticon, or a third of one. This Decepticon symbol is a lot easier to see on the Energon one, as you can tell. And again, he's got the energy crackling across the top. It's got some nice deco on the Energon version. Like the blue here. Definitely looks like a more cheerful one. Though for some reason, he's not wanting to stay together as easily as the other ones. I imagine that is probably because the mold's been used many times. And then finally we have the Hasbro battleship with the guns that can move, and you can ratchet them yourself and position them. You don't need the Minicon. I mean, definitely have the Minicon if you can have the Minicon, but you know, you can move them around manually. And he's got these two missile launchers that actually shoot pretty well. I'm kind of afraid to check out the one on Shockwave, because Japan, they tend to really power up their missile launchers. But that's the Hasbro one. Here is the Japanese Shockwave, and I still have ramjet on the top here. Again, if you want to use the Minicon, you can move those guns around. And he's got tons of Minicon ports. You could cover this guy in Minicons. All right, let's see. It doesn't really feel that much stronger. Maybe slightly stronger than the US one. I still have a hand, you know, which is good, or else wouldn't be able to do videos very well. Be doing it one-handed. Maybe I'd have Sky move around stuff for me. She's not the most precise. But I like the deco on this, a lot more purple. The orange windows, by the way, they have a Decepticon symbol right here. Ah! Ramjet! Get them later. But they have Decepticon symbols on the top, so each vehicle actually does have its own Decepticon symbol. And finally, the one from the Energon line, very Energon-likey. Energon-likey? Decepticon symbol right there. See if I can get it into focus. There we go, kinda. And again, you can move these guns in whatever directions you want. And the missiles, they're kind of weak-ass missiles. Definitely the earlier versions had a little more kick to them. But wait, there's more. In addition to the Dark Fleet, which I just kind of want to show this for a minute, because could you imagine the Autobots shitting their pants if they had this Armada coming at them? They look up and see all these Decepticon ships flying at them. That's why it's nice to have multiples of these guys. I don't know that I'm going to get multiples of the Titan, because that's one expensive motherfucker. But it's on pre-order, so And I'll put a link to the pre-order for that, as well as links to these in the description, in case you haven't found it. I found it on Amazon. There's other stores out there that have them sold out very quickly on Hasbro Pulse. And I'm a fucking member. They didn't save me one. But there is more to this than meets the eye. Okay, I kind of had to say that. Because this guy merges together into, and I could do like mix and match, but I'm not going to do it for this. Maybe at the end. But basically, you can pop these guys together into one big ship. Not a base, that apparently is the province of the new one, but yes, you could merge them into basically a helicarrier, and this comes flying through the atmosphere. That would scare the shit out of the Autobots. And merging them is actually not that difficult. So I just accidentally shed a missile off the table. So while I was getting the missile, I got that ramjet. And so I'm putting him right there on the top of Shockwave. And don't worry, I'm gonna give you views of each of them in a bit more detail. So here is the Hasbro one on the turntable of doom. As you can see, he's pretty long, pretty well armed. Definitely kind of like a helicarrier. I mean, he's got wings, he's got guns, and by some magic he can fly. But he looks very cool in this mode. Again, he does have the ability also to merge with Armada Megatron. I didn't feel like grabbing out my Armada Megatron. I just want to focus on Tidal Wave, Tidal Wave, Tidal Wave, or Shockwave in this case. Again, I like this deco the best of all of them. The Energon one is a little too bright for me, so I would definitely have to say Shockwave, Armada, then Energon. But he could be Shockwave, Shockwave. Doesn't sound the same as Tidal Wave, Shockwave, Shockwave. Not the same. And then of course we have Ramjet on the Energon version. New paint job for everybody. Yeah. And the glowing energy that could, you know, it's going critical. He could blow any minute. Shut up, Logan. Okay. Well, imagine how much the Autobots would shit if they saw 3 of these coming at them, all sporting all kinds of Decepticon symbols. I mean, if I was Optimus, I would fucking run. Now, they all have wheels on the bottom. You know what that means. Roll test. All right, the Energon one. Nah. I mean, it rolls. Not too bad. Shockwave. So they're like dragsters. And then the Hasbro. They'll make that same whirring sound on this surface. But they are very cool toys. Not as big as the Titan, but maybe little brothers. I think these guys are very cool in and of themselves. Yes, I'm gonna get the new Titan, but by no means am I getting rid of these guys. These are the babies. Okay, maybe that's pushing it a little bit too far. But Tidal Wave, Tidal Wave. He's just a very cool character. And yes, people have been asking for a Titan version of him for a long time. But these are cool versions as well. So I don't want to diss this guy. Now, one thing I'm noticing, and I didn't really notice this before, is on this back piece, there's actually a window, so people could be in there too. Hey, learn something new every day. Yeah, I was never that fond of the merging together, like disassembling and attaching together guys, but I just like Tidal Wave on his own. But anyways, I am gonna put links to all these guys in the description. Yes, you're gonna have to go to eBay, but I'll have links so you can just click, find it, and go. This guy might be a little harder to find, but then again, maybe not. You never know. I haven't looked him up yet. And as I said, I'll put a link to the Titan class that's coming out, and hopefully everyone who wants one will get one. That would be very nice. And won't have to pay a lot for that muffler, transformer, whatever. If you get that reference, like me, you're old as shit. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane with these little guns here that, oh, by the way, they can point up. They don't just go side to side. They can actually point up. So it's kind of cool. It's got a lot of features. But I really hope you enjoyed this trip down Armada and Energon lane and Shockwave lane. It's fine, Shockwave. And while you are considering whether or not you want to get these guys or just wait for the Titan or get all of them, because you can do that. You can check out this video over here, which is actually a comparison between Armada Optimus, the original, and now the new Legacy. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.